Hey, good day, everybody. Welcome back to our Working Together series, live from the Netiv Zoom room in Texas, where we're still waiting for Rabbi Karmi Ingber to show up. So let's just jump right in and see how our friend Rod Bryant's doing down in Netiv. Rod, how are you today? You're live on the No Hide World Center social media pages. What's going on down there in Texas? Happy
Yeah,
4th of July for you guys.
oh, thank you very much. It's a refreshing to be greeted with a happy Fourth from someone from another country,
Yeah, we just had
Canada.
our Canada Day celebration the other
I
day.
thought so. I
Yeah,
thought so. Now,
lots
do
of
you guys?
fireworks,
Okay, you do the same thing. A lot of hamburgers and hot
barbecuing.
dogs.
Yeah,
Oh,
barbecuing
yeah.
and fireworks. Sure.
So we're planning ours tomorrow with our children and grandchildren. So it'll be nice. The swimming pool's all ready. Everything's clean, ready to go.
Right
So it's
on.
going to be a nice day. Hopefully, Sully, a fireman, won't have to work too hard tomorrow because that's when people blow up their fingers. Oh, you're not working tomorrow? Oh, you are. Yeah. So someone showed a picture. A physician was showing pictures of X-rays of people with blown up fingers, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it was like gnarly
You have
looking
to
stuff.
you have to throw them after you light them.
Yes, don't light them and hold them. Yeah, that's for sure. But things are going well. We have Ronald Dickman in Australia. We have Sully, who's a firefighter in Houston. William is in Kentucky, I think. William can fix that for me. Lori, Sandy, Mary, Tar is in Kansas. And he's been looking for Dorothy and settled for Nancy, his wife. So I think Dorothy's been gone for a long time. But it's good to see you, Tar, my good old Texas cowboy who's moved to Kansas. I understand. It's interesting. Texans, over their history, they migrate between Texas, Kansas, Colorado, and Oklahoma. They kind of do this
East to west
stuff.
thing, north and south
Yeah,
again.
yeah, yeah.
Well, here in
Exactly.
Canada, we just hover above the border. That's all.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you know, but I would say 95% of Canada's population lives within an hour drive of the U.S. border.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Oh yeah, it's just like right above the American border. I mean, once you get further north, it's cold.
Well, it's cold and it's also sparse, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what they call Canadian Shield, which is so rocky that trees don't even grow in some areas.
Right. Well, Rabbi Yaakov Wobi said his parents live outside of Ontario, and so they drove up and went up through Detroit to go into Canada. And he says they were in the Detroit side, and it was like ghetto. I mean, stuff painted
I've
over
made
the
that drive
walls.
several times. Yeah, from Detroit to
I
Windsor.
didn't. I didn't know that, but he said it was scary. They didn't want to get out of the vehicle, and then they went in the tunnel, come up on the other side, and it's beautiful. Everything's clean and pristine. And he says it's really embarrassing. He felt like you were coming from Tijuana, Mexico, into the States.
I grew up in Southern Ontario, and I'll tell you, we used to go down to New York State often, and I'll tell you, New York State isn't very tidy either, like Michigan. But when to get between those on the other side of Lake Erie is Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is very
No, that's
clean.
different.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
you
Beautiful.
drive. Yeah, you drive from rough roads, with potholes on to nice smooth stuff, and then you're back into
Right.
rough stuff when you hit Ohio and Michigan. Yeah.
Yeah, Pennsylvania is absolutely gorgeous. Rabbi Ingber has entered the room. Go ahead, drink your drink and enjoy.
Good.
Good.
Ready to go,
Excellent.
everybody.
Well, it's good to see you, and we're going to turn it over to you. Dan, do you have anything you want to say before we go? No?
No. I just tell the audience that with this, we Rabbi Ingber intends to share
Recording
a short
in
message,
progress.
and then it's going to be an open Q&A. So if you have any questions, feel free, pen them down, and when the rabbi opens up the Q&A, put them in the chat room, and I will do my best to pass them on to Rabbi Ingber in an orderly fashion with our live guests as well. So I'm going to just shut off my camera for Rabbi Ingber, and Rabbi Ingber, we're going to turn it over to you, sir.
Okay, good to see everybody. Yes, actually, what we're doing today is we're continuing a third part in the series called Why is the World So Messed Up? And What Can I Do About It? So we've done 2 sessions so far. And in the first one, I kind of described the root traits that cause the problem, which the 2 extremes are people who are unbridled desire people and power people. We talked about last time, from the time of Abraham, and the nations of the world that came out from there, because till Abraham, we talked about there was a period of time where God said, anyone could find me. There was no Jewish nation per se. Everyone, there was no, the system was whoever finds God, God's available. That was a 2,000-year time limit. Nobody did it. Abraham did it. And then Abraham changes the dynamic. And the nations that come out from there, we have the Jewish nation, and we talked about last time, and then you have the Esav, who is the father of Rome, which eventually became Christianity, and you have Yishmael, who is the father of the Arab nation, who eventually became Islam. And we talked about how those 2 kind of are like the head of the 70 original nations, and they also fit into one of these 2 problems, either being, pushed towards lack of boundaries, or one who is, because of a desire and wanting, to come close and this and that, or the opposite of people that want power and control. And, and even the nations today, you can look and see where they fit. But now we're getting up to today. So Tar, what you asked me before, we're kind of getting there, because the world may have gone to new levels of insanity that I don't know. They're new levels. There really are new levels of insanity that I think, in a lot of ways, it's hard to say worse or better than the terrible generations of Sodom and Gomorrah. It's hard to say worse or better, because, as I said to you last time, society became at a certain point much more cultured, cultured. I mean, the Nazis were very cultured people. They had their music and the things and that everything. They actually, as I said, they outlawed, before they started exterminating Jews and plus other people they exterminated. Before they did that, they outlawed the Jewish law of how to kill the animal, prepare it for eating, in which is really the least painful way, but it was called cruel. So the world became cultured, but, a culture is a veneer. I'm very polite. Okay, but what's going on? So the world, in one sense, has become more cultured, but because the world has become, in a certain way, really stupider, the things that people think now are very, very problematic. So I want to get us to what's going on today. So, the time of what's called the Reformation, the Renaissance, religions, as I said before, people had religions, and they had their problems, and they had their beliefs and all these different things. But then, as society decided to enshrine an idea of atheism, and there was no longer maybe an idea of, well, I believe this is what I'm supposed to do. You believe this is what you're supposed to do. How do we get along? Now I have a new belief that sort of atheism has propagated. I mentioned Darwin. I mean, Darwin, whether it was an atheist or not, it's irrelevant. Darwin, as I quoted one time, his friend Aldous Huxley said he gave atheists an excuse to explain it, because I couldn't explain it before. How did the world get here? Okay, so now I have some way to, it's an evolutionary fact, it's whatever. However, it's not a class in evolution. We can do that sometime. But whatever you say about whatever the story is, it was now, if you didn't want to believe in God, or there was a source, or there was a purpose in the world of some sort, then now you have maybe a way to explain it away. It's a random thing. Let's talk about a second. What is the conclusion if the world is random? Don't answer that. Think about it a second. Let's say you get up in the morning and you subscribe to this belief that everything is random and it's really meaningless. A guy can walk out, in the street, a safe can fall from the 15th floor, turn into a pancake. And it really doesn't make a difference because there's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad. It's all random. That world is a crazy world. I don't know that the depth of understanding how crazy that is. We're talking about a world that evolves now and becomes more and more bizarre, but think about it. I subscribe to a belief. There is a omnipotent, beneficent creator of all that created the world to give me and everyone in it good, and he directs and controls that world for the purpose of giving good. I mean, if that paints your world, my life is purposeful. I'm going something good because the whole purpose was for something good. And everything really makes sense, even though I might not always understand it, but it makes sense. Now, if you subscribe to the other world, this is a cosmic fluke. You mean nothing. You really don't mean anything more than a mosquito, really. You're an advanced mosquito, but you're not going anyplace. What are you doing? What's going to happen? Okay, so fine. Oh, the world's blowing up. We're going to save it now so we can keep doing what we're doing. What are we doing? Well, we're drinking and we're having a good time. Okay, great. So that's where you're going. So basically the world subscribes to the belief that you are a contented cow. What is the greatest thing to strive for? I feel good. This feels good to me. So why shouldn't I go and do something that feels good to me if it's going to hurt you? There's no purpose. Well, because there's maybe a law. And I'm afraid that if I break the law, like you have more money, I want more money. There's no purpose. There's no right or wrong. So I would take your money, but I can't because there's this policeman. So I better defund the police. So I'll be able to do that. I'll be able to get what I want. Why not? I don't know that we can understand the mindset of a human being who believes there is no rhyme or reason to life. How do you get up in the morning? And if you do get up in the morning, you're probably a dangerous guy. Unless you're one of the lucky, beautiful people who go around and they have fun and everyone takes pictures of them and they tell you how to live your life because they're the great philosophical geniuses. That's really what it is. I mean, it's like, you think about it, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. LeBron James is going to tell me what's morality? I mean, because you could put a ball in the hoop. Very good. Okay. All right. I mean, the people who tell us what's right and wrong and who to believe and what to believe have absolutely no credentials for any of these things, but they're having a good time and they got a platform and you're going to listen to them. So they're going to tell you. So ladies and gentlemen, we are here now in America, and this is the July 4th weekend. And I got a real problem. And this is from a rabbi, a Jew who grew up in America. And I want to have the proper, what's called hakaras hatov, gratitude. Because, Ronald, I know you're in Australia, and Australia, the world picked up on a lot of the good things America did back hundreds of years ago. Well, what did it do? And where did this go crazy? Okay, I understand this here. If I could change the Constitution, I would change one word. This is one in the Constitution. You have the right of life, liberty, and the pursuit of, I would say, pursuit of fulfillment. And I say instead of happiness. And why would I say that? Because what was happening in the world when the founding fathers of America wanted to go and to build a country? They were being persecuted by the church and whoever else was part. You have to have these beliefs, those beliefs. So they said, listen to this. This is a great idea. And I would agree to this. I wouldn't say, some people say America is the greatest country ever. That's not true. The greatest country was the land of Israel during its holy times. But America is the greatest secular country that ever existed. That it is. There's never been a country that's come along and said, okay, we're going to set something up that is going to give you the right to do what? You know, I mean, there's one word that Americans really feel excited about. And it summarizes what America was and maybe will hopefully again be. And that word is freedom. You hear freedom, you think, freedom. So what was America fighting for freedom? What was the freedom they were fighting for? Why was freedom of religion so important? Why was freedom of speech so important? Why are these things so important? Because they understood they were being persecuted because they had different beliefs, whatever. And they understood a human being has to do something and accomplish something that make his life meaningful. And if I believe this is the way to do that, and you stop me, that is the greatest destruction of the human being. You believe in God, and this is when you think you have to serve God. Someone said you can't do it. Oh, it's my freedom. You know what's my freedom? It's my freedom because it's my freedom to be what I am. And a human being has the great ability. He's not a cockroach. He's not a monkey. He has the ability to go and say, I believe in certain things that have to happen that I need to do as a person. Whether it's what I believe to be true, how I believe to worship, whatever you believe. So America said, you know what? We're going to make this new system. You can come here and you could be free to do what it is that human beings need to do to express what is important to them in the world. And no one can stop you. And we'll have to make the rules because it's a little tricky. Because if you want to express what is good and what you believe, how do you not infringe on someone else's rights? That was the balance. Now, why did I change the word to freedom, life, liberty, and the pursuit of fulfillment? Why did I take the word happiness out? Not because the founding fathers of America made a mistake. I think they were very intelligent people. They even studied some Torah. They were very, very, very wise people. Very, very wise, very smart people. Why did I change the word? Not because of them, because of the idiots today. Because the word happiness that they were talking about was, what is happiness? What is happiness? Just think about it. So what's happiness? Well, if I get a big car and a big house and I make a lot of money, I have happiness, right? If I get this, if I become this star, I'll have happiness, right? Wrong, right? As Mary's saying, no, Mary's seen a lot. She knows this. That's crazy. But you know what happens? That is what people understand. Happiness is not a thing. It's an object. You can't get the object. What is happiness? Happiness is when I live my life in a way that is meaningful and purposeful, and I'm expressing what I have to, there is a byproduct called I am happy. There's a process, right? So I got to do when I know I'm doing the right thing, I know I'm living the right way, I know I'm being a good person in the proper way that I believe that I know is correct, that I feel deep down is correct, then I can have a sense of happiness. I'm accomplishing something, I'm doing something. But what they did was they substituted the pursuit of happiness means the pursuit of getting these objects. So you know what? Watch communism. I don't know if you all saw, but this is amazing. The Chinese government actually applauded something that President Biden just said. I don't know if you saw that. It was amazing. President Biden had said about like the gas companies need to lower their prices. The Chinese government said, finally you got it. Capitalism is based on extortion. They're on the same page. What does communism and socialism mean? Well, the pursuit of happiness, let's change the word now. Happiness, which what it means now, the pursuit of the things that I should have. If that's what you're promising me in the Constitution, well, this dude has more than I have. Why shouldn't I be able to go and take what he has? If that's what I'm promised, life, liberty, and the stuff. So let's redistribute it, give everyone what they should have. If you take all of Elon Musk's money, how many millions of dollars can you give out to everybody else? This is what's happened, because people misunderstood what there's a point in life to do something, to believe something, to act in a certain way. And if you the founding fathers of America, in their goal was to give you the freedom to be human and to do what it is that humans need to express. But we don't want that anymore. We want the pot of gold at the end. That's what we want. So right now, if that's what I'm guaranteed, so redistribute the money. That's why the comment. That's why it's hey, let's defund the police. It says in the Talmud, in the Medrash, Mishnah, Mishnah says that if it wasn't for the fear of the government, people would swallow each other alive. And believe you me, they know that. Everyone who calls defund the police, the goal is because we're gonna we got a different world order. And that I was telling you before, that's what goes on. And that's why I said about atheism, because it fans the fire of this. You're not going anyplace. I don't know, again, when they wrote the Constitution, I'm sure there were smart people, there were dumb people, not everyone was. But the idea that they had beliefs, or what they thought was true, and what they thought was right, and they needed the freedom to do that, that was because that's what it means to be a human being. Because I'm going someplace. What's the right thing to do? But if there is no right or wrong or reason or rhyme, and the world is random, and then you live 80 years and you drop dead and that's it. So, well, you might as well, I don't know, get as much goodies as you can. That's what's going on. I want to say something now, and I'm a little bit hesitant to say this, because when Moshe was commanded to go to Pharaoh, Hashem said to give him honor as the monarch, because there is a certain honor you need in a position of being the leader. It's not just a leader of a country is not just random. He's not. You need to understand this. This is amazing. It says the hearts of kings are in the hands of Hashem. Now, what does that mean? So it means no free will? No, it doesn't mean that. It means that these are global things. When a guy is a leader of a country, and maybe once the leader of the entire free world, as it was called, that's not an accident. That's that could change everything about everything. So God's he's directing it, but he's allowing certain things. What's he allowing? How does, and this is amazing when you think about democracy or dictatorship. In a certain way, it's the same in a certain sense. The difference is, in a democracy, you're supposed to vote for the people, for the person you want to lead, or the leaders you want. In a dictatorship, someone grabs it. But if the people resist it enough, they will overthrow that dictator. Sometimes they don't. Unfortunately, sometimes it takes years because they don't have the gumption to do it and the power to do it. But in a certain sense, the leader represents the heart of the people. Where are the people at? And so I don't want to say this in a derogatory way to the President of the United States. I really don't, because I have to give honor to the office. However, you have to wonder what's going on here. What's going on here? The leader is the sum of the people. And I ask a question, and I don't mean to be offensive, but I do mean to understand the deeper significance of what we're saying right now. The President of the United States at present clearly has certain mental issues going on. I think it's fairly clear. How bad, I don't know, but it's certainly clear that things are not are not fully cognizant in various ways. How much? That's a good question. But how does that happen? How does a leader of the country not have all his faculties? What's the deeper meaning of that? You know what the deeper meaning of it is? And I hate to say it, but it's another outgrowth of this atheism philosophy as it just goes out of control. It's because the people have lost their most basic common sense. It's unbelievable. It's literally unbelievable. You can look at something and I mean, look, and I don't, it's not politics. I'm trying to give an understanding of it, but I do have, it's like when the one of the judges of the Supreme Court of land can't define a man or a woman, we're not in a stage of most basic common sense. America has, not all of America, but a large portion of America has lost their most basic common sense, the things that are, and I want to tell you something. If you think I'm crazy because I'm saying it, which I know you don't because you're here on this call, but if you're crazy I'm saying it, the craziest thing is 5 years ago, nobody would have said it. The same people who are telling you today that you need an open border, men or women, women or men, 5-10 years ago, they weren't saying that. Nobody was saying it. So how are they so sure they're right today when 5 years ago that was insanity? So we have gotten to a place, and this is where I want you to understand this. We've gotten to the world where once you take God out of the picture, there's no rhyme, there's no reason, there's no up, there's no down, there's no good, there's no bad. You create insanity. You create literally dysphoria. You don't know what you are. You know, one of the most fundamental aspects of a human being, and I talked about this once before, you know, Descartes wrote, you know, many volumes to explain, you know, how do I know I exist? I don't exist. And he came up with his solution, I think, therefore I am. Okay, people argue with it, that's fine. But there's an old question, do I know I exist? You know? There was like a story, I think there was a guy in, how did it go again? This kid went to college and he came back and his father said, what'd you learn? He said to him, I got the joke for you, but basically the line was the kid said, you know, I learned I don't know if I exist, and the father smacked in his face. Now tell me I didn't smack you. So what it was that there's a certain philosophy that you're making that deep down intrinsically, you all know you exist. In Torah, it's called the das. It's called the most fundamental, basic aspect of the human being that I know it to be true. You want to write 1,000 pages to prove I exist? Okay, great. Maybe read, may not read it. But if you don't know you exist, you got a problem. You do know you exist because it's the most fundamental aspect of being a human being. I know. I just know. So when a person says now, I don't know if I'm male, if I'm female, if I'm this, if I'm that, the most basic understanding of human common sense of logic has escaped many of the American people. And that's the reason why a leader could be put in that's a rubber stamp for an agenda. That's what's happening. Because I don't know. Just point me what's the right thing to say. And ladies and gentlemen, this is where, you know, we talked about before, you know, why the world went so nuts. So here today, I'm tying it to the idea of taking God out of the picture. And then there's this dysphoria and anarchy. Anarchy, I mean, what America is facing anarchy right now. But I'm explaining to you why. Because it's no longer a place where I'm saying freedom to strive for what I think is true. That's not what it is. Freedom to get what I want. And give me that, give me yours is coming next, because that's what it's about. That's the problem. Now, I got one more piece, and then we're going to try to get to some of the solution. And the second piece I have, this is honestly, I hate to say it, it's even more problematic. Even more problematic. Because a lot of people who have common sense and you could talk to and might hear are experiencing something that has never happened on this level before in history. You have a thing of massive brainwashing. It's massive. It's literally, I mean, I can't think of a clearer massive brainwashing. If you say your opinion, that's it. We can destroy you. In Torah law, there are serious offenses to say something negative about somebody. But today, if I think your opinion is wrong, I can vilify you, destroy you, call you a Nazi, call you whatever I want, and everyone in the crowd is going to just jump on the bandwagon. And that's a massive brainwashing we've never seen before with social media. And this is where the danger comes in, because the kids who don't know any better are being brainwashed constantly. I do not know what I would have thought growing up as a kid watching television. You know, when I was a kid, it's like, you know, the racy stuff was the Brady Bunch, you know? Like, it was like, you know, oh no, I love Lucy. What trouble did Lucy get into now? You put on the TV today and a kid watches something and says, is this reality? Is this right? Is this wrong? And you're inundated with a brainwashing that even Mickey Mouse is now supposed to brainwash you to believe this dysphoria of reality. This is, ladies and gentlemen, as I started this series, and I want to get to the beauty of America, because it is the 4th of July, and America is a great country, and we need to save the country. We need to save the country. Now, I'll get to that in a second, but this is the process here. We have gone from a time of 2,000 years in the beginning where God said, anyone could find me. People, their desires took them all crazy ways. They went where they went. Abraham, then we have this new stage. And then Abraham is given the system of truth, and people are changing the truth and having their own truths with their problems. Third stage that we're in now is that there's no longer a place of truth. There is no truth. The founding fathers of America never thought that. They thought everyone is going to stay for, I believe in this. But someone say, I believe in nothing. I don't believe in anything that they weren't planning on. So there were certain basic, understandings that they set up. And now all of a sudden the world is, what do you mean? Nothing, there's nothing. There's no up, down, or either male, female, there's nothing. It's all random. That's the new world. And this is a really serious problem. So what can we say positive on 4th of July weekend here for you all? And this is what I always want to come back to. Even though I've painted this picture, you have to remember, the world is going to a process. It cannot be derailed. It's not possible. Hashem set the world up, there's a process. We have a 6,000-year process of a limit of where it's going to go until we come to the new phase of understanding and reality. And this last phase only has maximum 180 years. So, again, it's a long time, but the world is getting towards a point of understanding. And as we get close to that point of understanding, as it says, that one opinion is that before the Mashiach comes, the people will be completely insane. They'll all be crazy. They won't have sense. And literally, we're seeing that in front of our eyes. What can we do? Well, first thing is to understand that Hashem is running the world. So don't get too discouraged from what I'm telling you, because I just need to point it out. The great country that was built on freedom became now freedom to give me what I gotta get because you owe it to me. Rather have the government control and give it out than have freedom to do what I believe is true. That was never what America was built on. So we got to understand that's a massive culture thing. But Hashem is running the world. One, two. What we have to do is wherever country you're in. I mean, people in different countries, but this is a global thing here because the world has changed. It became the idea to become this global village. It has happened, and it will keep happening. And so, everyone is adopting the same mindsets that are being created in this bubble. Ladies and gentlemen, what you got to do now is you got to try to take back your countries. You really have to. Now, you might not be able to. You might be able to by yourself. But you have to try to educate your kids and your grandkids, and how to guard them from that smartphone and everything. I don't know. In Israel, the rabbis are very strict, and most people in the more observant world don't have a smartphone because you just haven't opened up box to everything. So I don't know how you control that. I mean, parents should get as many filters as they can and try to teach their kids how to communicate and what not to say. And to understand, like the values that come out are completely contrary. Like I one time a student of mine said to me, Rabbi, say something on Facebook, I want you to. So I said an opinion on something that it was a bit controversial, but I knew people were seeing it not correctly, and I wanted to straighten it out. So I said it in a very respectful way. And then, like, people all of a sudden who would never talk to me as I'm the rabbi, wouldn't talk to me to my face, they felt very free on Facebook to just like, you know why? Because it's a vehicle of what's called Lashon Hara. That's what it is. It's a vehicle of slander. It's a vehicle of Lashon Hara. So you got to teach your kids and your friends and people you can influence not to see the world this way. So what's happening right now is, why is the world crazy? Because it's gone in this whole process, and now it's in the process of meaninglessness. And that's why it's getting so nutty tar. You want to know why it's getting out of control? Because there's no meaning to anything. It's all random. And so people are just creating havoc. That's something right now that we have to first pray, ask Hashem to help us, especially in our countries, especially as Noachites. Why? Because you don't want to get swept up into other people's insanities. So we have a responsibility to influence, to try. We can, but especially, we saw the story of Sodom. There weren't enough people there. Well, yes, in Abraham's prayer to God during the time of Sodom, if there had been 10 righteous people, they would have saved the whole town. And if there were a few righteous, they got saved. So Lot got saved, Abraham's merit, okay. But there has to be the goodness there in the nation, and there is. There's a lot of it still in America. That's why we're doing this, because I think there's a incredible ability now in the world, not just America, in the world, Canada, every place, Australia. There is, and this will happen. I guarantee you it will happen. There will be a point where people will understand, and the negative people who refuse to understand will fade away, and those who understand will continue and thrive in the ultimate revelations of the world, times of Mashiach and what's coming, and things that we are promised to happen. But right now we're in the battle. So you have to know God's directing it. Don't get discouraged. And two, do everything that you can to speak up, because you're speaking up not just as a political person. Every political group has their own, I hate to say it, their own idiots. I hear some people talking on both sides. I'm like, really? That's what you believe? That's what you think? Not really thinking, but you're a lifetime politician. So you say the words. Okay? And there are smart people too who do hear some stuff, and it's important to go and to let your voice be heard. The what's going on of shutting people down who disagree, the disinformation, the 1984 disinformation committee, I mean, it's unbelievable. I know one thing: when someone lies all the time, they tell me someone else is a liar. I'm not going to believe that guy either. The second guy, I know the first guy. So we have to understand that now, and not let ourselves get shut down, not as an agenda, because I need to stay with it. No, because God wants you to do what is right. And when someone says something to you that's wrong, and you just kind of like agree with it, you're letting negativity flourish because you're not disagreeing. Do it in a respectful way. But no, this is wrong. Oh, can you this and you that? You think you're so smart? Okay, great. Let's see what you say in 5 years from now, and the whole thing falls apart. So that's my thought, and that is how I tie together the last of the world getting to where it is now, Tar. That's why it's as nutty as it is. We got to go and try to, to stand up. But it was an old Bob Dylan song, I think, called "God on Our Side." So you're on the side of right. When you're on the side of right, you'll eventually win. Just stick with it. Okay, that is my thought. We're opening it up to everybody.
Okay, we're going to open the floor up. Who would like to be the first to comment or ask a question? It can be obviously relevant to what Rabbi Ingber spoke, or it could be something different that you would like to talk about. I'd like to say this before we get into that. I was just talking to someone the other day. We're talking about the very same concept that you were speaking of. And I said, for the longest time, most common sense human beings in this country have just kept their mouths shut because they just want to work, take care of the family, have their liberties and drive on. But slowly but surely, the people that we've allowed to just continue taking an inch, now they're taking 20 miles, and now they want you to think like them. I think now is the time that common sense human beings that live in this country, it doesn't matter what your politics is, that you start standing up and going, you know what? No, I'm not going to let you say that because that's crazy. Like, that is mental, what you're saying. It's not true. And we need to feel all right to stand up and say what is true, because we've allowed people to say black is white and white is red for so long. They have convinced themselves that that's what it is.
Yeah.
And then when we try to tell them opposite, we're the bigots and we're the homophobes, whatever you want to say.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, thought I'd throw that.
The amazing, it's truly amazing that the new idea of freedom of speech is that you can say whatever you want to say that agrees with me.
Yeah, don't hurt my feelings.
You can say whatever you want as long as it agrees with me. So yeah, right. that is what's happening, and it's. But like I wanted you to understand a little bit the root of it. Atheism has a very strong root in this as a development, because people, and again, I'm not condoning wrong religions. Don't get me wrong, but when a guy thinks that they're right, they're doing what they think is right, and they may be dead wrong and maybe terrible, but they're doing what they think is right. Today, you're in a new phenomenon. We don't think anything's right.
Right. There's no absolute morality.
Not only do I not think that you're right, there is no right. By definition, there's no right. If you and it goes even further. If you believe that what you do is right, you're a closed-minded racist by definition, right. Because you think what you're doing. How could you think you're right? No one's right. There's no right. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how upside down the thinking is.
And we also have people in society that says, well, it's true because I believe it. Yeah. Not it's true because it's factual.
Well, I said that to once before, and it was the most I don't know. I saw this so clearly. I was living in Israel for 21 years. I never saw it in a newspaper. I lived there throughout the 90s. I never even heard of the show Friends or Seinfeld. That's how that's how disconnected I was from pop culture. I had never heard anything, and I'm a musician, so I had some friends to send me some music to have me. I know it was going. I come back to America, and after 21 years, and all of a sudden I hear the languages are all different. It was a stark contrast for me, because when I was a kid, America had this idea of tolerance. What does tolerance mean? So the philosopher John Stuart Mill says, tolerance means I tolerate what you're saying or believing. I think you're wrong, but I tolerate it. I will not physically force you to change what you believe. I won't do that because I have to tolerate it. That's what it was. And that maybe didn't work out so good because people weren't so tolerant.
Right.
If the guy believes he killed his God, he's got a problem, So people had tolerance was very limited because I believe I'm right, and it was very hard to really create tolerance when I believe I'm right and you're so dead wrong that I can't tolerate you. But that was the idea. So they found a new way to solve the tolerance problem. New way. Beforehand, the problem was I think I'm right, you think you're right, and I must tolerate. Now, there was a new idea. There is no right. We could all, right? We could all get along great because you believe your reality. And that's true for you. This is not truth. This is true for you. So everyone entered Disneyland. Right? And that's also, Tara, a deeper reason why men can be women and women can be men and people can be animals and whatever it is, because it's all Disneyland. There's nothing there. If think about it a second. If I tell you that whatever I believe is true, where are we? We're in fantasy land. I mean, this is not hyperbole, guys. This is literally, once you say to me, what do you believe in? I believe in one God who's a beneficent, omnipotent creator, created everything. Everything's moving towards good. What do you believe? Well, I believe it's the world was created by a three-headed spaghetti monster. Okay, that's true for you. Really? That's true for you? No, that's not true. You're called delusional. You have a mental problem. Okay, but fine. So you could believe it. That's America. You have a right to believe it. And Canada and Australia and the modern Western world. Yes, you can believe your insanity. But now you want me to believe it too?
Right. That's the fly in the ointment. Who else would like to add to or comment or question? Mary Robbins in Indiana.
That reminds me of the first semester my son went to college. He came home and we were talking and he said, there is no right or wrong. And I just went, what? And he said it again. I said, what's wrong with you? You know better than that. And he said, that's what they're teaching us in college. And I said, look, I understand if you got to answer that right for your professor to get a grade, but you know better than that. You know that's not right.
Well, I'm glad.
I mean, I was just shocked that anyone would say something that dumb.
Right. Well, I'm glad, Mary, that you were able to speak to him. I'm glad that you were able to relate to his common sense, that he was able to pull out of that. But think how many people are being indoctrinated.
Oh, yeah.
Little indoctrination. Your kid goes to college and he's being indoctrinated with insanity of what is true. And that's called higher education now. So like, okay, I don't know, my professor said that. He must know.
Yeah, I told him, when you went to college, when you went off, you had better morals than I do. What's wrong with you?
Yeah. Sully,
please.
Yes, sir. I think the indoctrination actually begins before college. I think it's ingrained in our society. Everything you were mentioning it earlier about turning on TV and seeing stuff on TV, and I think beyond just the television shows and the movies are being put out, the content is intended to desensitize not only the adults but geared to desensitize the children and to indoctrinate the children at that young age.
Right.
But even the video games that have come out, going back, a couple decades ago, there was a video game that was released called Grand Theft Auto, and shortly after that, there was this one of our big school shootings. I think it was Columbine right after that, and people don't seem to want to connect those dots there, and that might not be the only reason, but I tend to think what we put before our eyes and we allow into our souls, that is part of the indoctrination. But we allow our kids to see and hear and participate in that's part of the indoctrination, and it begins at a very young age, unfortunately.
That is exactly what's going on. This indoctrination is literally, and this is not hyperbole, this is brainwashing, literally brainwashing. Now, let me explain how that works. You have a soul, and you have different windows. And these are the things you bring in to understand your reality. There's deeper understandings of what it means, but it's a very, very deep topic in mystical Jewish writings about the different senses and how they interact and what they are. But you have different senses, and what happens is these are the gates that let in and let out. You have pores in your skin, of course, but that's on a much lower level. The most sensitive, really, in a certain, there's different qualities of the eyes and the ears, and in a certain way, the ears have more priority, whereas the eyes have more priority. The eyes, one thing that happened with the eyes is that you see everything as a snapshot. So if I think I talked, I don't know if it was in this class or a different class. If I said it in this class last week, please forgive me, but I may have said it in a different class, I don't know. But like when I go into a room and there's an ambiance in the room, I walk in and I immediately feel a certain way. Right? If they created the ambiance, I feel it. I might not be able to even know what I saw because the eye takes it in as one big glance. The ear takes it in one by one, and then I, the human being, have to string it together. But the eye takes the whole picture in, and I don't even know what I saw. And that's why the seeing is the ultimate form of brainwashing. Because when you put the image out, the child, the adult, they might not even realize what they saw. I think we talk about subliminal advertising. I don't know if it was here, but it's the same idea. They found that subliminal, you see things with your eye you don't know you're seeing. The famous story with years ago, they tried subliminal advertising, and they put a sign, drink Coke, every I think 16 frames of the thing. And then, and then during the old intermissions, everyone wanted Coke. They didn't know they saw it because the eye sees the whole picture and doesn't know what it sees. You're showing a kid the image, and I mean, now you understand something here, because it's always, even going back to when I was a kid, and they had the Brady Bunch, and they had certain what we'd call today innocuous shows, whatever. I mean, they weren't innocuous either. They had whatever their agenda was, whatever belief system they held that was being put in front of you. It's just that when the world has gone so insane that there are no parameters. See, parameters are crucial, because if you don't have the parameters to work within, you can't become anything. Everything's a big mush. That's why if you don't understand that your property and my property are separate, then you can never actually do anything. You can't be a giver. You can't be, because there's no mine in yours. And that's the blurring of lines. The blurring of line just creates this anarchy. A person has to become who they are and have it within whatever frame. So today, when there is none, and there is an agenda to get everyone to believe in the same dysphoria, chaos, nonsense, and that's the goal, that is being shown to your kids 24/7. I mean, I pick it up as soon as I see something, I'm like, I'll walk by an advertisement is on the street, and I'll say to my wife, you see that whole brainwashing what this is? I was like, oh, you're right. But it is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And along that same lines, going back to something else you said about the atheism as well, going back to the school shooting, I believe it was Columbine. There's a story about that entire incident there that one of the shooters asked one of the kids there before he shot her, "Do you believe in God?" And when the girl responded yes, he shot her, said, "Go be with him," and shot her. So going back to that, atheism apparently based on that comment, you have to assume that this kid obviously embraced atheism. So when you deny the creator, right, when you deny the one who formed the world, you have no moral compass, because who makes the morals? You make your own morals? Well, then what's right or wrong?
That's right.
So
right. Exactly right. 100%. I talked about it a few weeks ago, and no one likes it, but it happens to be true. You cannot believe in objective morality if there's no source beyond you.
Mhm.
By definition,
Absolutely.
if I believe this, you believe that, so it's a free for all. So they can't say, So that's really the third phase that I was talking about, which is where the world's at, and it sort of very much ties into this. Those in America, the 4th of July idea, because it's like there was a period of time where there were very false religions and very bad. I mean, a lot of people were killed in the name of religions. I mean, I'm not saying a wrong religion is good. It's not. It's bad. But it was very different in this phase. It was a belief in something that was true that wasn't, and here there is no truth anymore. That's a new one. And once there's no truth, there's no men, there's no women, there's no property. There's no property. I mean, I saw a very terrible thing that was sent around. Everyone saw it, but this woman, her brother was killed. He was killed. He was robbing a convenience store, and the guy with behind the clerk pulled out a gun and shot him. He pulled out a gun on the clerk, and the clerk pulled out a gun and shot the person. And this woman was now talking to the press about this, that her brother was killed. And and I saw this being sent around. People were saying around, and the woman was yelling, "What kind of thing is this that the guy brings a gun to work, and that should be just for the police." Now, I want you to think about it a second. So people, made jokes or whatever, how crazy it is. But what she's saying, if you think about it, really, you understand this is actually a philosophy that's being said in the world right now. Here's the philosophy. Watch this. He shouldn't be bringing a gun to work to defend himself. That's only for the criminals or the police. But we want to get rid of the police. So wait a minute. Let me understand what you're saying now. So the criminals got a gun. The guy shouldn't defend himself. The police should be taken out. So what should be happening? What's happening is a redistribution. And if you realize it, because if you have the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, you could do something and make something of your life because you have some purpose, then please do it. But if it's freedom to have the things that you have and entitled to have it, so why won't you guys just go and take it? And that's what's being set up. It's literally being set up to turn into a communist system. I'm not saying it's going to succeed, but that's what it is. And it comes from that insanity.
Rabbi, this has been a fantastic class. And I want to remind everyone that Tuesday night, Rabbi David Weissman will be back with us after a short hiatus in his health. So Baruch Hashem, he's feeling better. Last week, he had a little issue, and now he's back in the saddle. So Tuesday night at 6 p.m., Sandy, or 6 p.m. And we'll also put it out on an email out to everybody. So just remember, mark your calendar. Tuesday, we'll start back again. And then on the 7th, which will be the following Tuesday, I think, sometime, Rabbi Avner will be back teaching his class on Monday evening at 7. So we'll be sending an email with all the updates of the classes in it. And so for now, this has been a brilliant class. I want to thank World Noahide Center for participating, doing this joint effort, and Rabbi Karmi, Ingber, and Dan Dardwell. Really appreciate it. Dan, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Rod. Sounds like you guys always got something going on there at Netiv. If somebody listening wanted to register for those classes, can they go to your website?
Yes, go to the website and just go in and answer the questions on it, transmit, and we get it. We'll put you on the email list and send you the link. Very easy. It's netivonline.org. Netivonline.org. Netiv online.
netiv.org or online.org.
.org. Yes, netivonline.org.
Excellent. So there you go, folks. Always got.
And Rabbi will be here next week too, right?
Sunday. Yep, we'll be on.
All right, Rabbi Ingber, I want to say thank you so much. We've had some comments from a lady named Nellie on the Facebook. Seems like a very bright lady who's got lots to say. She seemed to be very intrigued. Summarized it all up as postmodernism, and if you just read that definition of postmodernism, and that's exactly seems to be, it's terrible, but it is what it is, and we know Hashem's got the answer, and sadly, we human beings, we have to learn by our mistakes far too often, and you think we'd figure it out sooner rather than later, but
Well,
anyways, okay.
We'll
So
get there
I
in
think
the end.
all right. So we're
Okay.
on for next week. We're going to sign off for today, and we wish you all a wonderful week. And that was our working together for today. And thank you so much, Rabbi Ingber and Rod Bryant. You guys have a wonderful 4th of July down there. All right. Bye for now.